Thank you, Chair, and with your indulgence, I've got a couple of comments and a couple of questions. The addition of the top part of the golf course, albeit bittersweet, is welcomed. Little too late, but I'm pleased that the inspector is agreeing with us that that should be included in the green belt. It does gripe me quite a lot, the fact that we get given all the time these arbitrary figures, such as 787 dwellings. This just plays into the hands of developers. Councils do not build houses. We can allocate land, and I completely agree with that, but we don't build the houses. So all the developers do is just refrain from building them, which then sees us drop below our figure, and then they get carte blanche freedom to build whatever they want, wherever they want. As an example, I'll use Horwich. Since 2013, we have allocated the local works to build nearly 2,000 homes on brownfield sites. The developers did not develop that land, and as such, our land numbers dropped, which then freed them up to build on the Llama Fields, the golf course, Pickups Field, the college site. And only now there's no green space left in Horwich, or very little, they're now deciding to build on brownfield, where this site, actually we can't afford to build any social or affordable homes, so we're not going to deliver any of those for you either. So we've got no green space left and no social housing and development. I think it's a completely perverse system that needs to be readdressed, and I hope the national policy actually sees that and gets it changed before we end up with a similar situation. It won't affect us too much anymore because we've got very little green space left, but other areas throughout Bolton, they're coming for you. The large developers have options on land elsewhere. But that's my comments. I've got a question. You mentioned that there's going to be changes to Section 106 and Community Infrastructure Levy. What are those changes? Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come back. Paul, I just wanted to pick up on something you mentioned there, where you gave us a veritable shopping list of things we can get through Section 106. It sounded very exciting. But I want to take you back to reality, is that developers will offer you the world to get their application passed, and then through various variations and feasibility studies, they eventually come back and you get very little what was promised. And I use one example, and it's really important, particularly when it comes to affordable, and I would prefer it to be social housing, but like you said, we only have affordable housing, is Bellway on the local works. I take on note what you said, there's 30% affordable housing on Greenland, and there is 15% on brownfield. But of course, as we know, we gave them a very generous 6%, of which they came back with a feasibility and decided to give us 0. Those houses they're selling now go for between £350,000 and £400,000, yet they can't afford to put one single affordable property on that site where they're delivering hundreds of houses. And it just goes to show, and I'm just going to make the point, that what they promise you initially is not what you necessarily get at the end. And we need to have a bit of a backbone in the planning policy. We've got you the houses, you're building them, you've got permission, you can build them. You should not be able to backtrack for the benefit of your shareholders rather than for the benefit of the populations that you're building. Thank you.